I think we're live. Yeah, hey! Hi. It's the 27th of April and it is...
It's 8:15. Good evening.
What?
Good.
And welcome, Simon. Hooray! Simon's back. Sorry, it's Simon's podcast. Thank you for having me back on your podcast again, Simon.
What podcast? It's also not a podcast. It's just so confusing.
Is it a show? Is it an event? It's always an event.
Is it a vlog? A vlogcast? I don't know.
Well, it's certainly not a ski lake or whatever you call your lake house. That's it.
Lake house. Oh, getting the jabs in early. Oh.
We should have a bingo card.
Or whatever you call it. Wow.
We should have a bingo card. Anyone chatting yet? All right. There we go. The director on that is Richard Whiteley. Are you getting hassled on the Twitters yet?
No, think so. Should I be?
No. And
That's,
is that on your camera?
Pretty good.
No.
Don't know what happened to my end.
Oh.
I mean, that's why I sounded surprised. Like, it's a good try.
Oh, it's live animation.
It's beautiful. It's a thing of beauty. Okay.
Yeah, the problem with live animation, it's terrible on the animator's wrists. How the dickens are you?
I'm good. I'm busy, but generally good.
So I asked you this question before, and I probably ask you every time you're on. So how many people work for Advancing Analytics?
No, you can't phrase it like that. I don't know off the top of my head. We are something around 17 people.
Oh, I see.
17.
I see. If you got it wrong, you've excluded people and they'll get upset with you.
That's it, yeah.
Sorry.
One of those things that I should know. I can't, because the next 3 weeks we've got new people starting each week, which is crazy but exciting. And yeah, we're in growth mode, which is fairly mad for a middle of a pandemic, right?
Well, and how old is Advancing Analytics? It's not more than
2.5.
2.5 years and 17 people. 17 plus. Yeah. So it's going to be like 20-ish in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Are those the 3 new starters included in 17? We've also got 2 interns at the moment. So we've got two people doing their kind of data science masters who are just joining us for 3 months. So it's kind of like they're joining the family for a little bit, but then they're going back to finish degrees and things. So we're kind of just, that's why I look confused about people.
Okay, sorry. Oh yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. Not that you can't count. I mean, it's not great for someone whose job is data science.
That's it. Terry's not written a model for me to count things yet, so I don't know.
There could be 2, 3, 17 people. I'm not a numbers guy.
It'll get the right number eventually.
Well, the thing about data science is there is no particular right answer, is there? Isn't there? I don't know. You have a hypothesis.
Yeah.
You try and work it out and you get an answer. That might not be the answer that you want. There's no right or wrong. It's just the answer.
Yeah. No, there's levels to rightness.
Yeah.
To be more right than a coin flip, generally.
Whenever people have talked to me, they've always said there's levels of wrongness. I
mean, that is also true. But you got the whole, you're doing false positives, false negatives, and what's your tolerance for each one, and you're doing a balance. That's data science stuff. It's not my bag. I don't do those things.
You do Spark and Delta Lake and Lake hoses and
Lake heists is the plural.
Sorry, Lake heists.
Heists, like the plural of mice. Heists, houses. Yes.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I thought you meant like a lake heist, like a heist
I'm not going to
movie.
take heist yet. That's what that means.
That's what your company come in. They come in, loads of people come in, they play a long con, you know, they do some sort of amazing trickery where they do something and then people get something and everyone's really happy at the end because it all works out and you walk away smiling. All
Okay,
17 of
yeah.
you in a row.
I was getting, I was getting worried with the long con.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to con it though. I mean like a heist movie where everything's all happy at the end.
Yeah, dangerous odds, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
working to succeed and things. Yeah,
Oh,
sure.
Ocean 17. I was thinking
Oh.
more that kind of, yeah.
Oceans, lakes. Yeah, okay. Well, I see.
No, I did that. Not intentional. That was just. Oh yeah, it was intentional. I mean, this entire conversation is scripted.
Yeah, but of course.
It's the only way we could come up with this magic.
Yeah, I'm having trouble with that at the moment. So it is the Data and AI Summit is coming up, and it's all virtual. So they want to pre-record their sessions. Makes sense. But it's not pre-recorded. Like a lot of the conferences have said, can you record a session and send us a session, and then we'll play it, and then you go along and answer questions. That makes sense. They don't want people doing all their own editing and spending all their own time. So you book a Zoom meeting a bit like this, and you deliver a session, and then they chop it up and they do it. But it requires things like, having your slides ready in advance and knowing what your demos are going to be, and a whole world of preparation and scripting that it's not how I work. So yeah, it's been a stressful few days realizing that I promised to do an hour and a half of sessions, and they need to be vetted and submitted and planned in advance rather than made up on the spot. So yeah, it's been an interesting time.
See that, I guess that's one of the things with remote sessions is it's unless it's a live session, it's quite hard to make up on the seat, just on the spot.
They're the ones I like. I like the remote live sessions. Like, can you just join it as if it was a call, share your screen, talk through a lot of stuff as if it was an actual session. And yeah, they're a bit hit and miss. Sometimes you're there and you're just speaking to the void, and then it finishes and you turn your computer off and you're like, cool.
Has anyone got any questions? Sorry.
Yeah.
5? People might be hearing crickets if I hit the right button, or they're hearing some strange or sad trombone. That was either crickets.
Yeah. But we've done quite a few. I think people were really put out when virtual conferences first started. The ones I've done recently, like the UGs have done recently, loads of questions, loads of people talking back and forth, quite a lot in the chat. But it's really hit and miss. And I know a lot of people are, kind of the Teams burnout of you sit on Teams all day, every day, and then there's a conference and it's on Teams, and you're like, okay. But if it's an interesting topic, you can go find out some stuff. And the nice thing is you get a lot more variety about people all around the world who couldn't necessarily have gone to a place beforehand. So yeah, pros and cons.
I mean, that's still going to exist in the future. When we get back to physical events and going to an event, seeing Simon there, having a hug, doing the day, then going out to a Brewdog because it's the only place you'll. Do you know what? I saw the thing for Brewdog shares, and I was very tempted because they do a whole vegan range of food, and you get a discount off the food as well.
Yeah, you do. Their seitan wings are awesome, and yeah, the cauliflower wings, really, really good. Just I've eaten far too many cauliflower wings in my time of traveling around various Brewdogs.
I didn't know. I even went through the entire document. I was very tempted, but it was just like, just for this, is it worth it? But
So I did many years ago in the second round. I invested. So I've had like a 10-20% discount for quite some time. So I think I've made my money back of my original, the amount of Brewdog that I've gone through.
Benny's just put in the chat. Admit it. You're looking forward to going out and about again.
Leaving the house. We don't leave the house. It's not a thing that we do.
We went into Norwich. So many people. Who knew?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I took the tube the other day. I went on a train and I took the tube to visit some friends and sat in their back garden and had a lovely barbecue. And yeah, no, seeing people and public transport and things. Then we scurried back home and we sat at home for a week and a half to make up for the horror of having left the house.
Last weekend we went to a fair. I was surprised it would be open, and there's a local, and there's one that's now even nearer. And people aren't wearing masks. And you go, people have got mouths, but I only see this bit.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's so strange, and you're going, all these kids running through this fun house and all these people getting all these rides and stuff. It just, it's just a super spreader event, isn't it?
Yeah. But I've turned into something's happened to me in the past year, and I can almost like looking out the window at people outside, going, "Why are you outside?" Walk along, see people like.
Like you've turned into a goblin or a
yes,
or a underbridge troll.
Yeah, it all works. It basically, I'm going to be an absolute shambling mess of a human being when we actually venture back out and we have to have like small talk and pretend to know how to interact with other human beings. It's going to be a shambles.
Oh, so what have you been up to? Hiding inside for the last 18 months. Yeah, me too. Learning any instruments? No. Do any languages? No. Did learn anything at all? Do anything good? No.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
Right in my office. We've been decorating. We've done some DIY. That's essentially all we've done.
I liked your background, so I've changed my background, and I had a green screen. I've taken it down. It took some paint down with it, so I repainted it, and I bought some LED strip light to go round that bit there, so it would glow. Tested it out, worked. Put it on the wall. No, fucking thing didn't work. I'm calm.
Just gonna.
Yeah, it would be nice because it works on the Hue system, but it was a clone, so it wasn't very expensive. Not like the Hue strip lights we've got in other places are quite expensive. And I thought I'd go cheap, but no. Stop it.
I do have like a little spotlight, which is the separate little. That's a little color dial.
Okay.
But it doesn't really it's not strong enough to affect the hue, as it were.
No.
It's like lights.
It is, yeah. I
The only
guess.
problem is I found when we had the whole heat wave in the summer last year, like I couldn't film anything in this room because like filming with a DSLR, we'd get like sort of half an hour in, and then it would go overheating, and everything would just shut down, and it's just like, yeah, good. Weirdly, one of the little home offices aren't properly kitted out as home recording studios, but
no. Well, it's the best that you can do. You can go really cheap, or you buy the expensive equipment, such as you bought some expensive. And as we were joking before, we haven't gone. You said you haven't gone full Hamberley, and I haven't. I've gone nowhere near like the Batcave type situation that he has. Apparently,
I'm just terrified of what that will be like on a hot summer's day. It's like radiating heat, but that's just jealousy talking of so many cool gadgets in tech.
See, I would normally have the lights on, the strip lights at the side to try and light the green screen properly, which is the big pain about the green screen. And after being in here like for an hour and a half with maybe even one of the other lights on, I'd be hot and sweaty, and that's on a cold day, and you go around the other bit of the house and it would be freezing. Imagine, I can't imagine what Hambley's electricity bill is like, because NASA wants some of their equipment back.
But it's what we all want. We all want to like sit down and then just have like a whole wave bank of LEDs and little dials, and wow, and then you can start working. It's a secret geek dream that we never talk about.
It's like Airplane with that. What's that over there? Well, the devices that are flashing in and out of sequence. Go get them in order. Just like
Yeah,
cool.
and I feel like a rocket scientist getting everything set up so that I can join a Teams call.
Yes, but you drive it all off your Stream Deck, don't you? So you can use all sorts of clever stuff, and it does look really good. It does take a little bit of practice though, because it doesn't just it looks so smooth because you've been practicing it and playing with it for a while.
Yeah, so basically a year of constantly being in meetings, just switching between different. Oh, we'll switch over to the whiteboard. We'll just switch back to screen share, because that took so goddamn long to tap. Just so long. Like I almost feel like I have to use it just out of sheer anger of how long it took to get everything set up.
Stick to one camera, Simon. No, I bought 2 cameras. I'm going to bloody use them.
Yes, exactly.
So I asked you, what's your next video going to be on? If you're allowed to, are you allowed to say, or is it all a secret?
I made a few mistakes in the past. I'm like, my next video is going to be this, and then I tried to get a demo working and it didn't work, and then wiped around it and never mentioned it again, saying nothing. Synapse CDC, CICD.
Oh well, yes, you were going to do one, weren't you? Yeah.
Just like battering my head against it, going, I'm just going to quietly leave that alone and hope someone else does a video about it when it works. Which it doesn't work. You can actually now do it properly. And just not go around doing that. So yeah, some point. But yes, the one I just finished doing a demo for and getting all it working and making sure it actually makes any sense is the change data feed with Delta. So making sure we can write to a giant Parquet-driven Delta table using databricks and say, change data capture, please. And I'll keep track of all the rows that have been affected by whatever we've done. It's nice.
And
service DVC.
so what's the output then being used for? Is it streaming into something else, or are you just saying, give me all the changes? Effectively, there's like a journal, and you give me all the changes since yesterday. Give me all the changes since 3 weeks ago.
Bit of both.
Okay.
So you can do it in batch mode, and you can say, give me changes between this time and this time, and it'll just give you any records that changed, and whether it was a insert, a delete, and weirdly it gives you a pre and post update. So you get, this is what the record used to look like, this is what the record now looks like. So most of the time you have to filter out that this is what it used to look like, so you DG. But you can also stream from it as well. So you can have things that like it automatically trickles down. So you can build a whole convoluted network of things where you insert data at the front and it like trickles down into the next layer and then trickles down into any dependencies, and you can just have it all just flow through. You want to pay to have a cluster turned on all the time. Lots of things in there, lots of interesting potential. Some gotchas in there probably, but yeah.
I remember you talking about effectively the using streaming between Delta to effectively do like a real-time ETL processing system, and it sounds really cool. And I was telling one of my customers about, but you've done that to look your stuff up because they seemed really interested in it. And yeah, I'm not going to do it justice, but you are.
So it was previously very cool that you could do that, but so you can't update a Parquet file.
Yeah.
So you can't go and change one record in the middle of a massive compressed column store. So what it does is essentially makes a new version of that column store that contains the change and then marks the old one as old. So that means like if you had, a gig 10 gig, well, however much data you manage to cram into that Parquet file, you're just replicating it, you're keeping copies of it. So the old Delta streaming, or the current method of Delta streaming, you get lots of redundant data. So what's changed?
Yeah.
Well, these 10 files have changed. I'm going to give you all the records inside those 10 files, even if only like one record had changed in each file. So it's like a lot of, essentially, it's the Spark distributed compute way of just going, it's cool, I'm a sledgehammer. I'm just going to sledgehammer everything with actual compute. And, you know, if you're dealing with billions and billions of rows, that's not a great way to be doing things constantly. So this is just much, much slimmer and says, these are the actual, just the rows that changed. So doing streamed changes is a lot slimmer, it takes a lot less compute. You don't need to have a big beefy server or cluster actually doing that. And doing batch is a lot slimmer. You say, well, I only want the 5 records that changed, not the 500,000 records that happen to be in the same files. So yeah, definitely interesting stuff, makes that streaming architecture much more viable.
So is that in Spark 3 or is that part of Delta Lake newer version?
So currently that is Databricks only.
Um,
And it's very much
s-
that is in Databricks runtime 8.2 in preview, but it is a Delta Lake function. And historically, what they've done, there's some stuff they go, oh, that's really cool, we're going to open source that. Or they go, oh, that's really cool, we're going to keep that as Databricks Delta. And I don't know what way to go. Like, there's no roadmap saying this one we're going to open source into Delta, this one we're not going to open source. We just have to sit there and see which one we're going to reach. So, no idea whether that's going to become an open source part of Delta Lake or a part of Delta on Databricks or Databricks Delta. I don't know how they call it, but yeah. But it's not yet part of Spark 3.n, I think.
Oh, okay. All right. It is a data, so it's a layer on top of Spark because it's the Databricks runtime libraries and the extra stuff the extra juice they add on top, extra value and like the.
Technically, it's part of the Delta engine.
Okay.
Because Databricks have got the same problem as Microsoft in that Delta is to Databricks as power is to Microsoft. Everything's a Delta something. So they've got Delta engine, which runs using the Delta Lake file format, and it goes by all these Delta clones and all these, just everything is a Delta thing. And yes.
Well, I mean, it's quite funny because everybody gets the same problems with naming conventions. They're completely different, and then people don't know they fit together. Or you go, you know, Power BI, Power Query, Power Apps, not Power Flow,
Automate.
Power Automate, yeah. Rather than automate, but also Azure automation is something else. There aren't enough words in the English language to stop us using the same names twice in different products.
No. Oh, and that's completely understandable. Using the same name for literally everything is an entirely different problem.
Well, if you're saying, right, it's a bit like, it's a Power family, and then you've got the Synapse family, and you've got the Office family. So I think that kind of fits.
No, it does make sense. I just like to take the piss.
You,
I know. I know.
you terrible human being. That's all I can say. So how have you been? Work super busy. Not going out, not doing stuff. Have you made it to a public house? Because a few people I've talked to have made it out. I haven't made it to a public house.
I have. We managed to get a booking for day 2 of our local pub opening and sat in the garden, despite the fact it was absolutely freezing and it rained a little bit. But we had pub food and I had a fairly mediocre pint. But it was a place outside and it made me happy. Like sitting there, just eating a burger, going, "This is so good." I mean, you know, it's been so long. So yeah, no, I've enjoyed my first trip out.
I didn't enjoy my first trip out.
No.
No. I mean, why would you spend so much in buying a house and then leave it? It makes no sense. I'm not getting that return on investment. That's my problem.
See, so I love cooking food, so I'm more than happy to kind of just stay home and cook food. But oh my god, it's great to have a meal and not do the dishes. Just be like, it's like you feel guilty getting up from the table and there's dishes there, and you're like, you have to.
I don't know whether this is an age thing, but after you finish a meal, especially if it's there's a fair few of you, I guess, or maybe you're with your family. I don't know whether it makes much difference. Do you pile up the plates yourself? Oh, I think I think the internet went a bit wonky then. Do you pile up the? Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's
yeah, you gather in the plates to make space. That's
Yeah.
fine. But that's not doing the dishes. That's
No.
not like sorting all the pans and the cookery things and utensils.
I have started making bread. Well, making bread. Yes, that's the right term, isn't it?
Yeah.
Making bread. It sounded wrong when I said it, and probably is wrong when I make it. But
Go on. What kind of loaves are you making?
I know, it's really simple. Nothing special. I'm just playing around with different ingredients and then adding a few bits on top, like pepper and salt and olive oil, and I've been mixing a bit of olive oil, changing the ratio of sugar and salt to see how they rise up. Although
You're playing around with your hydration percentages.
the hyper.
Hydration.
Yes, yeah, but not because it's by hand. It's still a bit hit and miss.
Yeah.
What I have noticed is I'm too impatient to let it prove for as long as it should. So it gets like about this much above the top of the tin, and then I put it in the oven. But obviously it soups down a bit, and I don't know whether to leave it even more.
What? Oh, well, it reduces in the oven.
Only a tiny bit. I haven't managed to get it to bake and actually get a bit bigger.
Oh, yeah, that's not right. That's really not
I
right.
don't know what I'm doing. Oh, yeah, I just the first
What
few.
we have a thing called the oven spring, which is the sudden shock of the heat actually makes it suddenly rise up a lot more. You should actually see a burst of growth when you put it in. I make bread a lot.
No.
I'm one of the people who was super annoyed when lockdown started and people started getting into bread making, so I couldn't buy any yeast anymore. I've been making bread for years.
Well, I've made bread before. It's just my daughter made some, and I thought, and then we were just it was only like a month ago, so it wasn't like we've been doing it. It was just like I had no bread. Got up in the morning, I had no bread in the house. I thought, I know. She made some bread the other day. We've got all the bits. I'll just make some bread. But clearly, I'm an impatient scumbag, and I didn't let it prove for long enough, and I certainly don't let it need. I don't probably need it for long enough.
Yeah, I mean, so if it's not needed for long enough, then it wouldn't have enough. It wouldn't have broken down enough gluten for it to have sugar.
So I'm wondering whether that's the problem. I'm not kneading it well enough. The right technique.
Do you put water in your oven as well?
I did put some water in for one bake to try and put some steam in. I was trying different things because that's what we would do. So I used to work in a bakery. So, but obviously, it's a bag of flour. It's a block of yeast. It's a bag of effectively all the extra ingredients. You put it in there. You mix it up for however long till it's basically banging around like a crazy thing. You cut it out, put it in a hopper. The hopper then cuts it up and proves it. It goes around, and then you put it in a tin. You let it prove for a bit, and you just shove it in an oven. But at home, it's you've got more human stuff.
Yeah, and we don't have steam injection ovens, which help.
Yeah, I'm sure you can probably get steam injection ovens if you were really into baking.
So I've switched. I use the Dutch oven method these days. So you know Dutch oven, like big cast iron, like really a cast iron ceramic coated casserole pan, right? Casserole
Yeah,
like sort of with a lid.
yeah.
Leave that in the oven for like 45 minutes, getting crazy hot. And then you just drop your loaf into that, put the lid back on, bung it in for half an hour, and it captures the steam inside there. So all this water that gets released by the dough basically kind of steam ovens itself. Means you get like the artisanal like dome shaped loaf. But yeah, it's good. Good with like high hydration sourdoughs.
Ah, I mean, possibly we were making sourdoughs. I never got into sourdoughs. I bake cakes, and make and do other baking. Just never. I think I'm just so impatient. So what I did the other night was I mixed up some dough. I put it in some tins. I then used the same bowl to mix up some more dough. I put it in some other tins, and then I mixed up some more and left it in the bowl, and then put a load of the tins and bowls in the fridge. And then I cooked that bread, and then the following morning you can just bung whatever in, because and then it's proving overnight, and it's a slower prove.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
there's a so there's a book, super trendy hipster Portland bread maker book. Flour, water, salt, yeast is quite good for just a few of the different ways of doing that kind of big, crusty, artisanal loaf kind of thing. And that kind of it's not the making the dough and kneading it and then leaving it overnight. It's making a foolish, which is like a starter, like a sponge. So basically getting flour and the yeast
Yeah.
and a bit of liquid, mixing that up. And then you leave that out of the fridge to kind of like pre-ferment overnight. And then you make your bread in the morning and then leave it to rise for another couple of hours. So it's like you can use just a tiny, tiny bit of commercial yeast, like a little bit, like rip open a yeast sachet, put like a tiny bit of it in. And then that's enough overnight, if it's left out the fridge, to be a little bit bubbly and doing some stuff. And then you've done the rest of the yeast in the actual thing when you mix that in. So it's like a slightly sour pre-ferment, and it's really good.
All right, I haven't heard of that. I mean, we haven't got soup.
Easy way of making bread because it's fairly low effort. Just do a thing the night before, and then the next day just mix it in.
Yeah, I mean, I probably the only reason why I was thinking about it is because my daughter got in from seeing some friends at the park, all allegedly socially distanced. I'm not watching them. I don't know, but I trust that they are clearly. And said, "Have you made any bread?" Hi, how are you? No, I haven't. I mean, it's not like it even smells like I've been cooking. Just walk in the house. Have you made some bread?
Nice. Yeah, I get it from Beck. She's like, "Can we have bread tomorrow?" Which means I have to make the thing that night to be ready. But it's fun, you can, as long as you make sure you got 5 minutes between Teams meetings, you can just run downstairs, do the next step, do a quick fold in the bed, leave it.
I did some of that at lunchtime. It was a lunch. I went down. I just went and I just made some dough up to then, leave out to rise, and then just left it on a window shelf. So, and in the sun, and it.
The joys of remote working, right, is that you can be home to look after your bread starter.
Who knew? So I do love. So one of the things that I do like about this pod thing, is that we will just talk about stuff, and we didn't intend or plan to talk about bread, but I'm actually really, but it's because it's interesting, isn't it? I mean,
I've always loved cooking, do lots of cooking, but I've never been a dessert person. I never bake. Except bread is my forte. So my wife Beck is French and fully into her patisserie and is like insanely good sweet baker of cake and like choux pastries and eclairs and patisserie and very artistic and make lots of really, really cool stuff. But we've been baking very much as cooking mine. If I don't have to measure it, I'm happy. if I just taste it, go, I don't need to boil that, boil that. And then she's there, obviously, just perfect ratios. They're just going, stop that in. Bread has somehow fallen onto my side of the bread. You can kind of feel it.
Yeah.
A bit more water. It's a bit too wet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, after mixing it up, so I don't know whether it's the amount of oil I sometimes add a bit of olive oil in there while I'm mixing it up. And I've had the dough be about 800 grams, and sometimes it's like 1,000 grams because I've just added so much extra water in there, and I just wasn't really paying attention. And it's fine mixing it up. And so, do you knead by hand, or have you got a machine, or do you use a machine?
I started off with a machine. I don't like that. So I do a little bit of kneading, but the sourdoughy stuff you don't do as much kneading. You leave it for longer to prove, and you do a couple of folds, but it's basically just very high hydration. So you get your hand in, and that's about it. Partly because of the pre-ferment. So a lot of it just broken down because you're doing it so slowly over time.
Yeah. Okay.
The weird science of bread. Like,
well, yes. I mean, it's cooking is so good because you get to eat the outcome.
Yeah.
And if you do it, for me, I would do big things of food. I wouldn't do like one thing. So my wife, she'll just cook dinner, but then I'll cook. I'll go, well, let's do that. Let's make it 2 or 3 times as big, and I can eat that over the next 3 days, and I don't even have to turn the oven on. I can just, so I'll just whap it in the microwave. Some people would probably be insulted. Just throw it in, and
we don't have a microwave.
You don't have a microwave?
No.
You Philistine.
I know. So the only time it bites me is when I need to defrost something. And I'm just like...
Yeah, you've got warm water, though. If you want to defrost stuff.
Sous vide. Okay, defrost things in the sous vide, which works quite nicely. And that might be the most middle-class way of defrosting something known to man.
Yeah. Actually, I've realised it probably is the most middle-class conversation we've ever had.
Northern, goddammit.
You want proper northern bread with grit in it.
Yeah.
Allenson, where you deliver it on the back of a racer bike with a saddle that's like a razor blade. Is that the right one? The right advert?
Oh, it's bringing back horrible memories.
What? Saddles as hard as sharp as razor blades, or the bread advert?
No, I once did a long distance tandem ride on a 1936 tandem, as you do. And because it was aging, and because the back seat was meant for a dainty younger lady, not a burly man, the saddle sheared off, and we were quite a way away from home, and so I had to cycle for a while, like above essentially just a sharp spike, and make sure you stay up on the pedals if there's a sharp metal spike threatening you.
Yeah, I can imagine that was an adventure.
It was an adventure. Yeah.
I mean, I thought we'd got as middle class as it went, but you were doing something on a tandem. I mean, that's even more, isn't it?
I was also wearing tweed.
You're always... Well, of course you were. I mean, you're Simon Whiteley. What else would you be wearing?
That was was it? That might have actually been coming back from the when was a different time. There's the London to Brighton. It's only like 55k, somewhere like 50k.
Yeah.
My friend and I were sitting around. We realised it was London to Brighton. And we thought, let's join that. And so we found out we'd jump on a tandem and just like sped along.
It must have taken a while.
No. So tandems don't look it, but tandems are fast. because you've got like the wind resistance and the tire friction of one bike. You've got the weight of two, but you've got the power of two. So like you can get a hell of a lot of speed on a tandem if there's two people who cycle a lot. You're there like just fairly casually cycling and going past like cycling clubs who are trying to peloton along,
Yeah.
like to maximize that. We're like just sailing past because you're automatically pelotoning basically.
Yes, yeah. So did you swap around to go and so one of you? Because obviously the one up front is effectively going to get colder because they're carving through the wind.
Not if you're wearing tweed.
Oh, I guess yeah. I mean, you
Don't
can
be
climb
cold.
you can climb a mountain in tweed, can't you?
Yeah, but you don't want to do sports in tweed. It's not.
No, not ideal. No. It's.
Anyway, I believe we've gone down a slight.
No, I mean,
tangent.
it's an interesting tangent. I mean, it's. So
But that is the kind of I miss the random stuff, the stupid stuff, the let's all get together in a field and drink cider and play music, and I miss this weird stuff you used to be able to do, especially in London. London just does all sorts of weird events and things.
Yeah. I mean, the London.
And
I mean, I'm just amazed. Oh, should we do that cycle ride down at London to Brighton? Yeah. Let's do that. Should we take the tandem? Why have you got a tandem? I mean, so actually,
who doesn't have tandem?
because of the way the tandem, you effectively both sets of gears on the pedals. What are they? What's the right term? The circle thing with the teeth.
Gears.
Not really good. The gears are the bits that move up and down, aren't they? The whatever they are. Yeah, because they're in series, effectively, aren't they?
They are tightly coupled. Yes. So it depends on the tandem. Some are really wrapped in. Some do weird things. Older ones, they are literally just chained together.
Yeah.
So if you move the front one and moves the back one, you're essentially like you're sharing the pedal.
Yeah. So yeah, well, that's how I imagine they work.
Yeah.
I didn't know they would work in because just it's the simplest way that the pedals there goes to the pedals here and
then they go to the actual gears on the back.
Yeah. Although obviously if you've got front gears, effectively, I'm not sure how that, but obviously they came a long time after, like two-seaters came on. So the gears that move around, geared bikes, probably came long after those sort of fixed wheel bikes.
I know. Well, they're not
Tandems.
fixed. You still have you certainly back in the 1930s you still had gears on the back of a tandem. The one I used to ride was so you had gears. The person on the back had the gears. The person had the brakes and the steering. So teamwork.
Gears. Were they the funky gears where you have the little chain that sort of goes? It looks like it goes inside the wheel, or was it like a proper derailleur?
No, there's probably derailleur on that one. Because there's two that we were. Was the other one an internal cassette? It might be. Can't remember now. It was a while ago.
Oh, sorry. We did go down. Sorry, we went down a bit of a rabbit hole there, which was fun. I might steal you afterwards for a little bit of bread knowledge, but we know what your favourite cheese is, because you can go back and watch that. Let's do a Richard Herring question.
Ooh.
Sorry, how's your year been? Because the people that I invited back now are the people. A lot of them I was talking to a year ago, when we were probably talking. I wonder how this pandemic thing's going to work out.
I mean, so it's been a weird one, right? It's again thoroughly depressing, turning into a strange recluse, shaking my fist at people on the street, daring to go outside. That wasn't the person I expected to turn into over the year. Personally, professionally, it's been fantastic. Used to travel a hell of a lot. Used to just spend my life in airport lounges. It's been really nice spending time at home. Actually, seeing my wife for a change as opposed to occasionally going, "Oh hi," she leaves from Paris, I come back from somewhere else, and that's been nice. And again, yeah, company crazy.
I wonder whether the company stuff wouldn't have taken off as much, or would have been in a completely different format.
Yeah, so I certainly think it would have been a slower growth. Because it's. I don't know whether the fact that we pivoted and we started doing YouTube, we started doing online content, we started doing much more of that than we probably would have. Because we used to go to conferences, we used to travel to conferences, but that's you have a collected set of people that you can actually see by doing a physical conference. And you cannot replicate the connection, the chatting to someone that you get from just rocking up the conference and talking about something and then just having the conversations with people. But yeah, the fact that we did something that actually has kind of taken off, that is on 6.4 thousand subscribers on YouTube, that's right? A little ticker just in the back.
I did wonder what that was, but I wasn't going to ask because you would probably just show off. Well,
yeah, I like, hey, look, I made it an hour. But yeah, I mean, for that, the awareness and the reach that we've done is crazy. And we were always remote. We never had an office. So kind of when a lot of people are trying to get to grips to how do you work remotely and what is this new world we're in? What is this is crazy. We were kind of already had a lot of the practices, had a lot of the ways, had a lot of our plan of how we wanted to grow the company remotely. And just the fact that we can hire people who aren't physically close to us. We can talk to people and find people who are the best fit and actually get on the best with everyone else and bring the best kind of like, kind of things to the culture and the tech and the personality and all that kind of stuff. And it just kind of makes sense.
That I found weird. The idea of moving jobs where you can't have an in-person interview. It's all done remotely. So whether that's made it really easy for you or that's it kind of seems a bit odd, but I know a couple of people have been moving companies and it's just working out.
Yeah. So we found it really, I'm pleasantly surprised actually how much of a culture, how much of a team dynamic, how much people actually just get on and chat and do stuff, even though a lot of people haven't met each other. Which is weird. So like at first, kind of there's a lot of people that me and Terry, kind of we'd met before, we'd met at conferences, we'd met at places. It just kind of makes sense to kind of reach out to people, when you're building that network. And then there's people that we've recruited, through recruiters, like kind of put job adverts out and people come to us, and we've again had a Teams call chat kind of thing, just kind of to get to know people. And then every day we have a company stand-up, which you can join if you want. If you got other stuff on, you don't have to. But it's like just grab a coffee, eat your breakfast, have a chat. What did you watch on Netflix last night? Anyone got any plans? Anyone leaving the house ever? No? Cool. And we found that people are actually almost weirdly chatting more than they would if they were doing normal consultancy and actually everyone was off at different clients and not seeing each other. Kind of when I worked at other consultancies and you don't see people for months on end, just because you happen to be with different clients and they're remote and they're in person and you are traveling different areas of the country. Weirdly, it's see people more.
I think you've done a really good job, because I think that's having that remote culture and having a culture that works when everyone is remote is actually something you need to put effort into and work into, and actually people have to put a little bit of effort in. It doesn't just happen. You couldn't just say we're going to do this meeting and it would just work. Everyone has to actually, or most people have to try and attend and keep it going, otherwise it fizzles out.
And it does take work, but less work than maintaining a physical office. Into that about making the decor and stocking, making sure people are around, figuring out desk spaces, and then figuring out when people are places, turning up to an office and no one's there, and then you've commuted somewhere to sit on your own all day. there's things I definitely don't miss. I don't miss. There was a client I had a 4-hour commute to get to. That would leave me getting the first train at 5:40. I think my old first train. So if I knew if I made it to Swindon by 7 a.m., I was halfway there. It's just like great use of time. And just saving on all that is. We always said we wanted to be much more remote than we used to be, and we used to find it a struggle to convince clients to do it, because they're like, no, we need you here. And it's like, no, you don't. You need us talking to you. You need to answer questions. We need to be available and kind of, doing things. And you need us to develop and build things and actually, produce stuff. And spending, 3, 4, 5 hours on public transport a day isn't really productive.
I bet you in the new world, when people do start traveling, if you start adding travel to the expense of, so actually you now want them on site, you've got to pay for them to come on site, because we work remote. You'll find that
being the eco hippies that we are, we are carbon neutral as a company. We're like, we are going to offset any carbon costs, all that kind of stuff, which again helps that we don't have an office. But we've added a carbon levy. So part of us, if we are expensing to travel somewhere, we'll add an extra carbon levy to offset the costs as well. Just to again hit home that happy to travel. Some stuff just makes sense to be face to face. That whole everyone gather around and whiteboard some stuff and actually share a lot of ideas. It's not as good doing it remotely. There's some stuff that just is better if you're there in person. But you don't need to be there in person all the time.
No.
It should be the exception for the kind of the spikes where it's real high value, not the I'm going to be there every day.
Yeah, I've done that with customer sites. I'm there every day, and they wouldn't even know if I was there or not. I'm just sitting there working on my own, pootling away, working in Azure. So I could be sitting anywhere. I could be at the hotel. It wouldn't make any difference.
You could be in a brew dog, because they do their desk dog, and you can use that as a bar, which I've done. Not as a bar, as an e-working location.
That wasn't a Freudian slip, was it? Oh, all right. I'm going to make some bread and walk the dog. So let's do an emergency question. Finish up. Yeah. Always finish on an emergency question. What number would you like? Between 1 and 1001.
Somewhere in the middle. Let's go for 234.
234. I do like the fact that I could read out any question, but
maybe pick your favorite on that page.
234 is if you've ever had
okay, pick a
with have you ever had with anyone famous?
No.
That's really not a great question, is it?
No. It's. Wait, I'm assuming is what I assume it is.
We can take that offline.
I'm against it.
Yeah. See, I think we've had this page before, because there's the question: isn't liquid soap just an elaborate con? Because soap has been working fine for years. Questions he's asked.
You have to take to froth it. You're saving valuable seconds in not having to work up a lather.
Oh, okay. This is one you probably can't answer, but I like the question. Who would you most like to wreak petty vengeance upon, and why?
I don't even know.
I mean,
how petty are we talking?
I mean, it could be setting the air conditioning up, the aircon temperature up in a room. I mean,
the most. Yeah. Sure. Who would do? What was that petty vengeance for?
I can't remember.
What had I done to deserve the hot box?
I think it was just It was, I was in the room and we had to just get it ready for, you had the afternoon slot. And I just saw, and they complained that it was warm or something earlier. So we went in and we found the air conditioning remote control and turned it down. And then we went in later and went, yeah, could just turn it up, couldn't I? I don't know where it came from. It was just kind of just me being just malicious and evil, really.
I mean, no,
But-
I fully applaud it.
Particularly vindictive. I think turning Terry's up was vindictive, because that evening I dropped the bag off in his room, and then because I was in his hotel room on my own, I then set the aircon up to like highest it would go. So when he got back in there drunk, I mean, it was that. I mean, that should we say that was the least tame thing. That was the most tame thing that I was going to do something else.
I mean, I've also assumed you also licked every available surface in that room, but you know, that's just standard.
Yeah.
Signature move.
Yeah. Use the bathroom.
In the days when licking every surface wasn't actually a pandemic spreading terrible things.
I know now. Now it seems like a terrible idea, doesn't it?
Right, exactly. Just, what kind of monster would do that?
So, anyone you can think of possibly?
Well, we were plotting petty vengeance. Actually,
good.
just yes. In that our neighbours had a ton of building work last year, and then on the first sunny day this year, they had a load of landscape gardeners appear and start digging up their garden, and we were just sitting in our go, just for the small shred of sunlight, because it'd been really cold recently.
Yeah.
Nice day, we were like, oh, it's actually sunny, and then suddenly like drills and building one, which is like, So we were talking about some friends are trying and get married in Greece in July, and that is optimistic. I'm like, oh, we do, but then we can go and quarantine over there in kind of we'll see. We don't know what's going to happen. If it does happen, we're talking about, do we just actually hire some builders to do a load of work and then tear it down at the end? Just to the noisiest thing that you can do for like 2 weeks.
Oh well. So at the weekend, the weather was nice. Our neighbour decided to get their motorbike out and just rev it constantly and do some sort of repairs to it.
Which to me sounds like you did something to upset them, and that is their act of petty vengeance.
It's weird.
With headphones on.
I might. I sometimes ignore them, but not deliberately, because I'll be out in the garden with headphones on, with noise cancelling on. Just I just won't.
No, like ignore this.
I went out to the took some stuff to the dump, came back, still going.
But it's funny, it just wouldn't bother you at all normally, but because we're all at home, so we sitting there going, oh, there's buildings across the street as well. Don't you know I'm trying to record a video here?
Yeah, I guess, that must be terrible if you're trying to do something that you're soundproofing and.
Yeah, well, these days actually the mic's alright. Finally got audio quality kind of sorted, so it's like there's a little bubble, and if there's stuff going on over there, it doesn't really affect it unless there's like a police siren outside my house, which has happened in a video. I was halfway through and I was like, because I'm stupid and I never bother editing. I just hit record and then do a video and hit stop and upload it to YouTube. I just don't have time to do like stitching together bits. Which means if I ruin a take in the middle of it, I'm like, oh, we're going to start it again.
Well, you just need a producer, someone to then go, but what they do, and they just monitor, so they know that a sound came in at whatever time, and then they just go, right, you just carry on from this point, and we'll just, because they'll mark a time code down. But obviously that takes time and effort.
Actually record videos at a reasonable hour of the day, or like at a known time. I'm going to record then rather than just meeting finished like with 20 minutes to spare. I get a video done and get it out of the way, which is just the only way I can currently do it is if I can just slot it in at the moment when I'm like, I'm free, I'm going to do a thing, and then. It's fun.
And I think that petty vengeance is a good thing to end on.
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you for your time. It's been wonderful. Again, thank you for watching. We've still got a few people watching. I'm quite surprised. And we will speak again at some point soon, I imagine. Certainly at the next event, which physical event should be, be lucky, less than a year.
So there are some tentatively planning in like October, November. And it's like, maybe. Only if it is completely safe and it's completely controlled and there is zero risk. Because what's the point? What's the point in risking doing something if that then means actually, you know what, it's going to ruin it for everyone else? It means things go badly. If you put anyone in danger, there's no point in just doing it just for the fun of meeting people in person and sharing knowledge. But it is entirely safe. If it is entirely thing we can do. And by the time we go to October, it is in that state. Looks like some people are going to try it. And then if it's not safe, cancel it by near the time. But I guess kind of, making plans, starting to be optimistic and go, we can make plans. And then worst thing, we'll have to cancel it.
Yeah, as long as you're not getting booked, as long as you can move the booking, you're not getting penalised for planning stuff ahead.
Yeah, that's it. So I personally, I wouldn't want to be organising a conference and paying venues and all that kind of stuff right now. But kudos to the people who do, and if it's in a place where we can do it, then it'll be amazing to get back to meeting people in person and doing that kind of stuff, and all piling to the pub afterwards. But yeah, we'll see.
People. Ugh. All right.
I said it's going to be like the biggest crowd of awkward people who don't know how to talk to each other.
I know, but I was practicing those social skills to pretend I was human. People realise that I'm not even human anymore. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye bye. Live long and prosper.